Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thank you for coming to watch. So I got you guys an update on some very, very big and active things that are going to be happening across mainly the Central U.S. as we get more into this fall. All right, we're going to be talking about a big upcoming winter storm that's currently developing over the Central U.S., as well as frigid temperatures that are going to be entering the Central and Eastern U.S. We're going to be talking about all of this coming right up. So, starting out here, we're looking at our current radar. So, right now, we don't have much at the moment. We don't have much going on. All right. Um, Other than that, we do have a few storms, I should say, moving over portions of eastern Texas. All right, that's not really going to be a huge problem, but we do have a very, very big threat for some flash flooding. We're going to be talking about that in a bit, but this is not even the heaviest rainfall that we're getting into yet. All right, and so we also have some storms that are rolling through the Midwest, portions of Illinois into Missouri. Here we're starting to see some storms. Other than that, not much. Some flurries over the northwestern U.S. mountains here, but again, really nothing else other than that. So that brings us to our alerts here, and so look at what we've got going on today, and it's pretty active right now. So we'll start out here in the West Coast. We have what looks like a freeze warning. This is going out for portions. This goes up and down the Washington and then the Oregon State coastline all the way up towards California, where we meet up with that red flag warning. All right, we're breezy, we're dry. Okay, and so in this region, you can see here, even right next to it, we do actually have a wind advisory, and so basically, you can tell that it's also dry in this region. So when you get dry conditions, breezy conditions, you get a fire risk, and so that's why we see that red flag warning. All right, so we go down towards Southern California where things get even more active. We have even more red flag warnings. In the San Diego and Los Angeles area, we have high wind warnings, high wind watches, and wind advisories. I mean, it's been very, very windy lately, and we could be gusting to 50, potentially up to 60 miles an hour for some areas, which will lead to certainly scattered power outages and downed power lines and trees. So make sure that you're aware that there is a pretty good hazard for that. We got a freeze watch going out for a few counties out here in Southern California. Then we go out to the Central U.S. where we do have a upcoming winter storm here. We already have freeze warnings in place going out all the way from southwestern Wisconsin down all the way towards northeastern Kansas. We have a big chunk of the Central U.S. It's really going to get below average for these temperatures as we get into tonight into tomorrow night. Then we have a winter weather advisory that's a very big area stretching all the way from portions of extreme southeastern South Dakota, northwestern Iowa, all the way down towards western Kansas and eastern Colorado, just past the Rockies here. So this is just for the beginning of that winter storm. I think that we will see some of these get upgraded to a winter storm watch, which we somewhere in here, I don't know if we can see it, but we do have a winter storm watch marked right there. All right, and so behind all this, we have more red flag warnings out here into Colorado, but also some flood watches and advisories because we are going to be dealing with some heavy rainfall. So when you don't really get that heavy snow, all right, that everyone's talking about, that's just going to pretty much be that's going to be in the presence of heavy rainfall. So that's why you see that flash flood watch. Big day ahead, or big night, I should say, ahead for you guys out there in northeastern Texas. Big flood event going on. This could even be considered an emergency flood event, and this is seriously going to be as bad as what happened in southern New England a few weeks ago. This is really not good. You can see at the moment we already have a few flash flood warnings in the Dallas and Fort Worth area, DFW area. I mean, I feel really bad for you guys because I know it's a very busy area, very populated area. So that evening commute must have been very, very difficult because a lot of these roads, we're getting a lot of reports in of flood roads out here, and so I just want to make sure everyone's staying safe here. No flash flood emergencies at the moment, though. I'm hoping that we'll stay away from those. That's the highest level of a flash flood warning that it can go. All right, but I doubt that we're going to get that high. But we're still definitely going to get a very big event out of this system. All right, so nothing much other than that. So we move on now to our NAM3CAM model for the South Central U.S. So this is starting at 3 p.m. today. All right, this is your first initial line of rain showers and thunderstorms that move through the region. This kind of starting to fizzle out, but then, this initial band fizzle out, but then this is what is really the heart of your storm system, and this is what was developing all these showers. We got a lot. I'll show you guys the setup here. We got a lot of moisture surging in from the Gulf, pushing up into the system ahead of the system, all right? And your cold front, it's pretty much right here. It's pushing, let me get rid of this. All right, it's pushing down towards that warm front. All right, so you may be wondering, why are we not seeing severe weather? Well, this storm system, which is taking all the warm air with it, it's trying to skedaddle. It's trying to move way off to the northeast. All right, that's not going to allow this cold air to meet up with it. So that's really not going to cause enough tension in the atmosphere to cause any severe weather or really just any strong thunderstorms in general. But these are thunderstorms for sure. They're not strong ones, but they're definitely producing heavy rainfall. That's why we see a lot of this flooding. And so we can see really a tight pocket of very heavy rainfall moving right over northern Texas into southern Oklahoma. We're getting into this is 9 a.m. tomorrow. So we pretty much just went through the middle of the night. 9 a.m. tomorrow. This is where we're going to get our heaviest rainfall of the day. Well, pretty much tomorrow. And this rainfall continues surging into Missouri and then into Arkansas and eventually portions of southern Indiana into Illinois. So a lot of heavy rainfall starting to show up here on the NAM3CAM model. But behind it, we get even more precipitation. But notice how that cold air starting to get down farther. But because that Gulf moisture has already surged into that first initial line of storms, which is way up here in the northeast, that's why we can't really see any thunderstorm buildup other than these first initial backside storms. And so basically, if we get precipitation and this cold front is right here, it's going to be snow and it's going to be frozen precipitation. So believe it or not, we will see for some out there in extreme northern Texas, you could be waking up early. If you wake up early Sunday morning and you're lucky, you may see a few snow showers, a few flurries out there, but it will mainly be freezing rain and sleet for the most part in northern Texas. All right, anything farther south than that, it's just too warm for any snow. Just going to be all rain. Maybe some thunderstorms, but really nothing to be nothing to be afraid of or nervous about. All right, a lot of snow that could move over the Rockies here in the mountainous regions of Colorado. But this is going to be a pretty big winter storm for some, and this is just going to continue to evolve and develop from its initial stage. But that's going to be where the North Central U.S. comes in, which we'll talk about in a bit here. So we'll move over to our excessive rainfall outlook. This is what's really concerning here. So I have looked at this a lot. I usually look at this for every flooding event I cover, and we rarely get up to a moderate risk for flash flooding, and that's at least a 40% chance of flash flooding within 25 miles of a point, and we already have a big chunk of Texas included in this risk. So this is why, because it's so rare and it's such a high level of risk, that's why we're so concerned about flash flooding, because it's almost certain that we're going to get some pretty big flash floods. All right, so we look at what we're dealing with in terms of our cities. All right, Dallas, you guys are definitely in this. Fort Worth and Arlington, you're in that slight risk for now. But if you're just south of Arlington, or even considered in the extreme southeastern part of Arlington, Texas, you have a moderate risk, which basically means that there will be ponding on most roads, and so a lot of roads will be flooded in that area. Corsicana in Texas, Waxahachie, Cleburne, and then Brownwood. All of you guys in Texas, you got to make sure that you're aware that if you are attempting travel tonight, which you definitely don't want, you want to avoid traveling at most. But if you are attempting travel, just make sure that you're aware that tonight there will be some pockets of very heavy rainfall that will lead to even more flash flooding, even though we already do have a lot of flash flooding. But Hamilton, Somerville, Bosk, I don't know if I'm saying that right, Johnson, Cleburne, Ellis, Corsicana, the Cedar Creek area. All right, just this entire area up here towards Garland, Mesquite, Terrell, Dallas, Arlington, Cedar Hill. All right, just a lot of these areas included in this big risk for flash flooding. We go outside this moderate risk. We have a slight risk. This is really the biggest extending risk we have, where we just have that just shows that there is an existing chance for flash flooding, including San Angelo, Killeen, Waco, Texas, Tyler, Texas, Longview, Plano, Fort Worth, Denton, Texas, going into southeastern Oklahoma, and then into portions of southwestern Arkansas. All right, not really any major cities out there in Arkansas. Texarkana, you guys are, I would say, yeah, you could consider yourselves in that slight risk, but really, I don't think it would be worth extending that far out. All right, but Denison, Paris, Texas, McKinney, Greenville, Sulphur Springs, Denton, Louisville, Plano, or I should, yeah, Louisville. All right, so a lot of big areas out here in Texas, especially, that are under the slight risk, and then for the surrounding areas, you have a marginal risk, which is just at least a 5% risk of flash flooding. So we go to the day 2 outlook, which is definitely not as concerning. You can already see that the movement of the system is just right up north. It's trying to get away from that cold front here, so nothing to really be worried about, but there will be an existing flash flood threat. We might see this get upgraded to a moderate risk somewhere inside here if this rainfall can keep up as it continues to the northeast, because it might fizzle out. That's what some models have been hinting, that this could actually fizzle out, this rainfall, and that would decrease the chance for flash flooding. But Rogers, Springdale, and Fayetteville in Arkansas, all in that slight risk, including Fort Smith, Little Rock, Arkansas. We got Jonesboro, Arkansas, into Missouri. We have Cape, Garadeo. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Evansville in Indiana. All right, so a lot of big cities out here. But I really don't think that. I think that after we get through tonight into tomorrow morning, I think we should be fine with the flash flooding. And if you're wondering, we also do have a slight risk for the day 3 outlook, but I really don't think that this is going to be very concerning. Nothing for day 4, and for day 5, we don't have anything else. So we look at now our rainfall totals, and this is where I'm legitimately concerned about how much rain we could get. So this, and note that this is not even 24 hours out yet. We'll put this 24 hours out exactly. All right, this is, let's actually put this 24 hours out from now. All right, and so this was 24 hours out from since the actual start of the rainfall. All right, I mean, it's pretty ridiculous how much rainfall we could see. We've seen these. We'll start off in the higher rainfall total. So up here in northeastern Texas, this is where I don't know what's going on here, but the NAM3CAM model is showing some small area of right around the border of Oklahoma and northeastern Texas to get almost a foot of rainfall, and potentially up to, I mean, who knows how much. But I think that this could be incorrect, very likely. But this shows a worst case scenario, and this shows just pretty much the area pinpointed where we really could see the most amount of rainfall. But this big stripe of pink and purple, this is at least 2, up to maybe even 5.5 inches of rain, stretching all the way from central Texas up into, up into western Arkansas, and even beyond into southern and central Illinois, into the boot of Missouri. So I mean, it's really gonna, the boot heel of Missouri. It's just gonna be a very big area that's gonna pick up a lot of rainfall in a short amount of time. But in this blue here, you could expect anywhere from an inch to 2 inches of rain. But just a lot of rainfall in general for this area. A lot of people are going to be picking up at least an inch of rain. But man, I mean, look at all this rainfall moving over the DFW area. We see a slight hint of red going into orange. I mean that's definitely above 5 inches of rain in just for 48 hours. I mean that's not good. All right, this is really not going to be good for you guys out there. So luckily, the worst of the flooding will be overnight. So, I mean, for motorists that would be stranded, I don't think that there's going to be nearly as much as there would be if this was a daytime event. But if we do get flooded basements, that's not going to be good, because if there are people down there that are unaware that they are in a serious danger and there is a serious situation going on, that could definitely be a problem. So we look at now the flip side of things here. We're actually going to be looking at some sleet. All right, so I mentioned earlier that how the NAM 3K model showed a lot of sleet and freezing rain. Well, here I am. I'm going to be talking about it here and showing you guys the totals here. All right, so we'll put this out until where we start seeing the sleet right here. All right, and you can see that we're not expecting a huge ice storm from the system, but you can see that same area of northern Texas, we could expect almost up to a trace, maybe a glazing of ice out here on those roadways. I think this just flashed 0.34 inches. Yep, 0.32 right there. Inches of ice on the ground. This is just ice that would be on the ground, really on what do you call it? I guess streetlights, lampposts, handles for sure, definitely railings. All railings would definitely be able to pick up this ice, but just a very icy day in general. Some areas could get, like you can see, there's some scattered areas that could receive some higher totals here, but mainly in this area in general, you could expect up to, yeah, not much ice, but there is a quarter of an inch of ice. That's considered a lot of ice. Um, but yeah, I don't think that there's gonna be like cars completely sliding around on the ice, but it's gonna be a little slick. So make sure you're not speeding, obviously, but you don't want to be going too fast. But yeah, there will be I wouldn't call this a significant ice storm, but you could definitely call this an ice storm, and this will definitely drop some freezing rain on some areas out here in the South Central U.S. So we go over to the North Central U.S. We're gonna be looking at what we could expect with basically just looking at the flip side of things. Now looking at the snow. All right, and so this was your old system. Hold on, let me get rid of the sounding here. So this was your old system that's moving out now. Some relatively heavy to moderate snow out here in extreme northern Minnesota. High pressure taking over the rest of the region as this cold front continues pushing south. We can see this is a pretty good gradient right here. Looking at a straight cold front. This is a traditional cold front pushing this warm front out of the way. And so you also got high pressure backing up that cold front. All right, and so you'd wonder, like, why are we seeing this snow, starting to form right when that really strong high pressure is right there? Well, that high pressure actually is going to disappear right here. It's going to bolt farther west, and it's also going to weaken. So that's going to allow some snow to eventually develop here. So it takes a long time for the snow to develop because it's just very small and low, has low energy, because it's still fighting off that high pressure. But once the high pressure it's gone. Boom. That's when you can see the snow starting to spread. And here we go, right here. We're starting to get some flurries into portions of southern North Dakota and northern South Dakota. We're getting to this is pretty much just Friday night, so this was what we had today. We have heavy snow though moving over the Rockies here, and so this is what's going to continue into tomorrow. And then we get to, let's put this to tomorrow, and this is when we're getting into pretty much late. This was late this afternoon, so pretty much where we are. This is gonna be in a few hours. Heavy, very, very heavy snow moving over Nebraska, northern, central, and western Nebraska, especially. A lot of heavy snow, persistent heavy snow, dropping a few inches. Also on here on the Rockies, on on portions of Colorado, a lot of heavy snow. Even spreading into South Dakota, we could be really dealing with a lot of snowfall here, and this is just going to continue moving over. And this eventually kind of it joins itself. There were two bands of heavy snow, and they basically just join each other. Some rain on the front side because you are closer to that warm front there, but that will most likely quickly change to snow. And then you can see a brief moment of some more high pressure here. Pretty strong. 1,032 millibars is pretty strong considering high pressure. So that's going to really weaken the system. But on the backside, even some more heavy snow could drop a few additional 4 or 5 inches of rain, snow, I should say. And then even some more backside snow. So we're really going to get pretty much 3 rounds of snowfall from the system, but I really do think that some areas could get a pretty significant amount of snowfall. And so that's going to lead us to our next part of the update, looking at our current projected snowfall total. So the heaviest snow will be farther south, which would include areas near Nebraska, and then also especially look at Colorado right here, a lot of snow. So we're going to put this out 59 hours, the farthest it could go out. So this is basically what we're going to expect with our snowstorm here. This is not, all right, so this right here, what I'm showing you, you may think that, it's pretty early in the season for snowfall, so pretty much you'd think, like, it's just for the mountainous regions. But if you are here in Nebraska or even into Colorado or Kansas, even if you are near a city or you're not in a mountainous region, you will still most likely pick up a few inches of snow. I mean, I wouldn't even say likely, but I would say that you definitely have a good chance for a few inches of snow, because this is a big stripe of snow moving up and down throughout portions of Nebraska. And so we see right here, this area of blue here, this is pretty much around 1 to 3 inches of snowfall. Additional snowfall could bring this up to maybe 4 or 5 inches of snow, mainly towards areas near Colorado. Almost 7 inches of snow here in northeastern Colorado. But these are the Rockies right here. 2 feet of snow, 10 inches of snow around here. These are the mountains right here. You can even see just by the shape of these snowfall totals, you can see these areas. They're very precise. That shows that there are mountains over these. So, these are pretty ridiculous snowfall totals. 30 inches just flashed a little bit right here. 34 inches. Wow. All right, so almost 3 feet of snow for these areas closer up towards the mountains. But we could even see snow stretching in northwestern Iowa. We can see 3 inches of snow here closer to the border here, maybe up to 4 inches, but mainly an inch, 2 inches, maybe up to 3 inches of snow for some. All right, and then into Kansas, we are going to deal with some snow. Really, a quarter of an inch to half an inch, maybe up to 2 inches of snow. For some areas. So very light snow. It's gonna actually be it's gonna be pretty out there as long as you get enough snow, because if you only get like barely a little bit and it might not even stick here, that's not really as beautiful as when you get a nice fresh coating of snow and you wake up to a beautiful morning and it's still snowing just very lightly. All right. But set aside this, it's going to be a very snowy day, but there aren't really any concerning snowfall totals because these are the mountains up here. Nobody really lives in the mountains, but a few inches of snow out here in Nebraska, not really going to cause any problems, but definitely plowable snow. That's really going to impact this region this weekend. So we look at, for the last part of the update, just the GFS here. So we look at our current temperature anomalies, and you can see that things are pretty active right now. This is pretty simple right here. We've got a extreme cold front that's dominating this northern and western U.S. here, and you can see that we've got a very tight gradient right here. Look at this. Extreme above average temperatures. We're getting 12 degrees to 16 degrees above average here into portions of central Missouri, and then just to the northwest of that, we're almost 16 degrees below our historical average. So very warm especially in the east. Look at the northeast. We are very high above average. You can see in the beginning, if you saw in the beginning of the update, my my widget here, my weather widget, actually showed that we're actually nearing at the moment we're nearing record-breaking temperatures right now. We're at 68 degrees. So today's high I think was 75 or something, and I'm out here in Long Island. So I mean, it's not supposed to be 75 degrees in nearing November 1st, and it's supposed to be 80 degrees tomorrow. So that's even crazier because you could see that the farther that this cold front pushes to the east and south, the farther that this warm air will make it to us. And so we see just surging warmth out here in the eastern U.S. The eastern U.S. is thriving with warmth here, but bone-chilling cold moving down from Canada. I mean, this is crazy. We're getting almost 20 degrees down to 25 degrees below our historical average out here in Montana and the Dakotas. So it's supposed to be cold out here for sure. But when you get this cold, I mean, you're talking maybe below 20, below 10 degrees for some areas. And so this is just going to continue and continue to push farther south, and that's gonna just battle that warm front. That warm front's not gonna do anything to try and stop this cold front. So this cold front makes it all the way down to Texas, and Texas going to be 20 degrees below average, and the heart of Texas. I mean, this is 72 hours out, so I can't really say that this is too far out to really make any forecasts or decisions. This is most likely what's going to happen here. We are most likely going to see temperatures getting below 50 degrees out here in Texas, and we could even, some areas, I mean, could get below 40 degrees. I'm saying that, and I'm saying it because it actually is expected to happen. So this is pretty crazy. And behind it, we have even more developing cold air trying to move down as well. So even some backup here on this cold air. But this yet another surge of warm air coming off the coast of the west coast. And what's that going to do? Well, that's going to push this cold air off to the east. And so now the East Coast is dealing with very cold air, and it's going to be so cold that you guys aren't really going to be used to it because, we've been dealing with some warm air lately. So I just came to notice that this actually looks like snowfall here, like I don't know, like a snowfall background. It kind of does. I don't know. I just wanted to point that out for you guys. But anyways, we see the western U.S. now warming up again. Now we're getting into early November. We're getting into November 2nd, which is Friday. So this is the week out. We could be most likely dealing with cold air in the east, warm air in the west. So we're back with that. Pattern here. But then another Arctic blast. This is a very long time out, but we'll just look at it for the heck of it. So another Arctic blast showing up on the GFS coming down, but this doesn't go down, straight from the Central U.S. It goes down from the east. So basically, this could be another pattern flip flop because basically, I kind of ran through this fast. So basically, what's gonna happen here is that cold air is going to replace the warm air in the east. This is what's going on right now. This is the same cold air that's moving down into the central U.S. That's going to push off to the east, and then warm air is going to pop up in the west. That's going to move to the south. So now you've got cold air in the north, warm air in the south. And so the reason you get a pattern flip is because that cold air begins to try and take over the eastern U.S. It finds that weakness in that warm air. All right, and that's how it takes over the eastern U.S. And then when you see some lighter, cooler temperatures out here in the west, that warm air in the south goes right ahead and takes that spot. All right, and that's how you get that pattern flip flop. So all of a sudden you're back to warm air in the west and cold air in the east. But three pattern flip flops could go on here. We go from cold in the east, warm in the west, to cold in the south. So warm in the south, cold in the north, and then again we'll see warm in the west, cold in the east. So that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for coming to watch. I'll see you guys in the next video. So gotta watch this system that we're talking about with that very heavy rainfall, flooding, winter storm going on. A lot of big things going on with that pattern change, but we're just gonna have you guys stick with me throughout this big week upcoming. Alright, so don't be scared, be prepared. I'll keep you guys posted and updated on anything that's gonna be happening weather-wise across the nation as we get closer and closer to winter. as we get deeper and deeper into fall. So thank you all for coming to watch. I'll see you guys next video.